in my lifetime. And for anybody older there, I would challenge you to find another collective. It is amazing to me, collectively, Reid and McConnell, just how it's a combative Senate, it's a leadership-heavy Senate, it's a Senate that doesn't respect committee chair ranking members to let them do things as much as they used to, and it's overly political.
Sam Stein.
Not necessarily partisan, overly political. You know, there's an interesting little set. You know that it used to be a regular occurrence that the Senate Majority Leader and the Senate Republican Leader used to appear together on Meet the Press? It used to happen all the time.
Yeah.
Reid and McConnell, they don't even think about doing things like that.
You know, Sam, I was just going to bring up Trent Lott and Tom Dash would tear each other to shreds on Meet the Press, but be friendly afterwards. One time,
they would
Trent
be on Meet the Press together, though. That's
what I'm saying.
That's what he said.
Yeah, on Meet the Press together. One time, Trent Lott and Bill Clinton tell the story of Trent Lott saying something a little too tough about Bill Clinton, picked up the phone, apologized to Bill Clinton that morning. Clinton said, "Don't worry about it." I mean, this is, again, we don't have to go back to the 1800s to find times when Washington actually worked. But this is just a new low.
Sure. Well, you know, McConnell and Reid did one joint interview, I believe, on 60 Minutes, and it was so cold. You felt chills almost watching it. So they clearly don't like each other. Maybe they do, but they don't want to be collaborative with one another. And I think that's a problem with the Senate at large. With respect to what Harry Reid said on the Koch brothers, clearly there is selective outrage at billionaires in this country coming from the Majority Leader. And that's in part because he has a billionaire, Tom Steyer, who is donating to Senate Democratic candidates, and he clearly wants that money. On the bigger point, though, about money in politics and this whole idea of a constitutional amendment to ban it, one, that's the only way they're going to do it because the Supreme Court has ruled on this issue, and two, it's never going to happen. And that's a bigger problem that Harry Reid faces, much more than this quipping back and forth with McConnell, which is that there's so much money in politics, so many billionaires dropping, you know, tens of millions of dollars, which is a drop in the bucket for them, and you can't get rid of that money.
All right, you mentioned Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is defending his wife against suggestions, namely by Karl Rove, that her health situation may impact her plans for 2016. Speaking at a fiscal summit in Washington, the former president knocked down suggestions that Hillary hadn't leveled with the American people about her concussion back in 2012. According to Monday's New York Post, Rove told a Los Angeles audience last week that the former Secretary of State may have brain damage. I just want to let it breathe.
That never gets easier to read, actually.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. While Rove refutes the exact wording, President Clinton weighed in.
Oh, thank goodness.
First of all, I got to give him credit. You know, that embodies that old saying that consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. First they said she faked her concussion, and now they say she's auditioning for a part on The Walking Dead. She works out every week. She is strong. She's doing great. As far as I can tell, she's in better shape than I am. She certainly seems to have more stamina now. And there's nothing to it.
Do you think this is their way of inserting her age or her physical capabilities into the 2016 debate?
I don't know, but if it is, you can't be too upset about it. It's just the beginning. They'll get better and better at it. I mean, you know, I'm still waiting for him to admit there was nothing to whitewater. I mean,
there you go, President Clinton.
There you go, President Clinton.
There he is.
Doing what President Clinton does.
Doing what he does. Let's bring in presidential historian, Reagan biographer Craig Shirley. Craig, good to see you this morning.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk to you about this latest line of attack, not just from Karl Rove, but the talk now about Hillary Clinton's age. If she does decide to run for president,
right,
it will come up. It will be an issue. It has been an issue in the past. You talk about John McCain or Bob Dole or Ronald Reagan. Why is it different this if you think it is?
Well, I'm not sure it is different. First of all, I want to correct what Bill Clinton said. What Samuel Johnson said was foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of a small mind. So he needs to work on his Samuel Johnson research. I'm not sure it's different. As a matter of fact, this is pretty much of a softball. I'm not want to defend Karl Rove, but in 1979 and 1980, GOP operatives were saying that Ronald Reagan was palsied, that he was prone to strokes. Those are all direct quotes. Gerald Ford said he was, had had premature orange hair. John Connolly was saying that, Reagan better be careful if he slips on ice in the New Hampshire primary. His campaign will be all over. The attacks on Reagan and his age were utterly, completely vicious. Oh, it gets even worse. It was terrible. And, of course, and so actually, I mean, this stuff, the problem with this is twofold. One is that the Clintons overreacted, and that is just catnip to the vile Republican consulting classes, because now they're all laying in wait and said, look, if we drew blood on this, I mean, we're just going to come at them with everything. So they made the mistake. What Reagan did was he would handle it with humor, and then say, and by the way, let me talk to you about why we need to cut taxes for the American people. But he didn't get upset. He didn't overreact. He used to joke about, like during the campaign, the primaries in 1980, he was talking about why wage and prices didn't work, and he made reference to the Roman Emperor Diocletian, and who had ordered the death penalty for anybody who violated the wage and price controls 4,000 years ago. And he said, and by the way, there's no truth to the rumor that I was there when Diocletian made that ruling. So he handled it deftly with humor, and then he would take the issue, the attacks, and then pivot it and focus it back on the issues that he wanted to talk about.
Craig, there's obviously, you're bringing this up, another famous moment, the 1984 debate, one of the debates with Mondale. Let's watch.
You are the oldest president in history, and some of your staff say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Funny part about that clip that you realize is how hard Mondale laughed at the joke.
Yeah, that was it. He hit it out of the park, and that was it. The campaign was over. But he did that many, many times during the run-up to the 1980 campaign, and then during his presidency.
So can we, before we wrap it up here, I mean, these stories exist, though, because there's a tinge of something to them. Isn't that fair enough? Well, Ronald Reagan certainly suffered from the effects of age in office. And you can hear that from insiders who worked with him.
No, absolutely, Mika, absolutely not. Is that he and Mrs. Clinton? No, he did not suffer from the effects of age. I mean, if you're talking about Alzheimer's or mental deterioration, no, he went to Mayo.
No, I did not say that. I talked about. I can tell you exactly if you'd like, but I don't think you want me to. But I know people who were in the room with him, and he definitely had the effects of age when he was in office, especially in his second term.
Every staffer will tell you is that when he went back to California in January '89, he was tired, but he went to Mayo every year and went through rigorous mental and physical testing and passed through flying colors all 8 years of his presidency. Everybody who was up close and personal with him said there was no evidence of any mental deterioration during his presidency. He was as sharp as the day he went into office.
But okay, well, then we can debate that. My point is both these stories, in my opinion, have a tinge of truth. You go to Hillary Clinton, and she was not present at a time when people had a lot of questions about something that was going on that was an important in foreign policy, a huge, disastrous event, and her health was a question.
And Chuck, let me go to you. There certainly were a lot of questions about Hillary Clinton's health. This is not to justify anything that's happened, but just following up on what Mika said, there was a tinge of truth to this. It is something that was asked before, and it will probably be asked again as we move forward.
Look, and remember, they were very secretive about everything, particularly in the first couple of weeks of it felt like we didn't get the details. It took a long time to get it out, which in many ways is par for the course when it comes to the Clintons on some of these things. Okay. But, you know, in a weird way, Karl Rove did the Clintons a favor in this respect. Now, which I think is a legitimate thing to ask of every single presidential candidate, show us your health records. Give the public, show the public your health records. It is, I think, It'll be an important question to Chris Christie. It'll be an important question to Jeb Bush. Be an important question to Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, whoever.
And they do.
And now the Clintons can say, oh, you're doing the bidding of Karl Rove. Oh, you're doing the bidding of, that is in an odd way how Karl Rove may have just done a favor for the Clintons.
All right. Craig Shirley, thank you so much. Sam Stein, thank you as well. Chuck Todd, thank you. We'll be watching the Daily Rundown at 9.